What draws someone to live in a certain place? Maybe it's the clean air, endless skies, and the lack of rush hour traffic? Or the comfort of having everything your family needs close by? Here, nature surrounds you, community welcomes you, and opportunity is everywhere. Whether you're building a career or making memories, it's a place where life feels just right. Bismarck Mandan. Make your mark in a community you'll never forget.
Test, test. Okay. Hi, I'm Sherry Sandstead. I'm with Coffee with Clyde Video Memoirs. And I would not normally be up here doing this, but somebody talked me into this. So I presented a couple of years ago, and during my Q&A session, this idea came up of why don't we do legacy interviews, but this idea came up of why don't you, try and put out some conversation cards. And I was like, that's a great idea. So we got together and did kind of a, round table or whatever, and did kind of a family or a friend game night at a local restaurant. And that was really fun. Got a lot of really good feedback on that. So life got in the way 2 years ago and had to put things on hold, but I finally got everything back together again, and voila, we've got gift to gab. So we've got these conversation card decks available. I'm looking to partner, so if you want to put something in your employee break room, or you want to do something fun with your staff or whatever, I'm also looking to do some gift cards to people that are going to bring their pictures and their promo pictures back to me. So if you want to do something with me regarding gift cards, that would be great. That's it.
Sherry, would you like to talk a little bit about Coffee with Clyde too, just to kind of make that tie in? That's what you were presenting here.
Yeah.
Back then.
This group really means something to me because my dad was an entrepreneur here in town. He basically physically dug a lot of the foundations of this town: Bismarck Hospital, Bismarck High School, University of Mary. He was a huge piece of the entrepreneurial spirit of this town, and every day he would meet with his friends, and it was Coffee with Clyde. They'd go and solve the world problems. So my dad passed in 1986 at the age of 56. We didn't get a chance to record any of his stories. I got an opportunity to do that several years later with some grandparents, and those stories have been carried on through the generations. So this is an opportunity to kind of get your family histories recorded. Okay? Thanks. I brought cards.
Yeah, talk with Sherry afterwards. I'm anxious to see those as well, having seen some of the prototypes.
So I'm just standing in for Silicon Plains today, but this is the QR code takes you, I've been there, it's pretty cool, but everything you need to implement for AF for your business in 15 minutes a month. So I would imagine, so a wee bit like, it's bite-sized morsels, but they give you some great information. In fact, after we showed this announcement last week, we had the chamber reached out and said, hey, we need that QR code again. We've got someone who wants to start attending those. So it's just a free thing that they do every month. And I see some phones out looking at QR codes, so yoo-hoo, I did my job.
Good job. We'll give you a second.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Good morning. It's also Grouch Day. And no, actually, so I have this story. Last week, Dave Blair and I were over in Fargo for the Prairie Capital Summit, I think is what it's called. And they called me up to talk about what National Day it was, and it was Moldy Cheese Day. And then I had Dave, wait, put your hand up, Dave. I had him do this. And afterwards, how many people came up to you and asked you about if your name was Moldy Cheese? So anyway, I'm not going to do that with Grouch Day today, but you know, I figured you would, yeah. Anyway, it kind of does, yes. Thanks everybody for inviting me to be here today. Oh, wrong way. I knew I was going to do that right away. You'd think I would know something about tech or something, but anyway, so Carbon Convert is what we're here to talk about today. This is a project that's 3 years in the making. We've never really talked about this publicly. You might have stumbled across it maybe, but basically, well, I'm going too far already. There we go. So this is the inspiration right here. Now, you're probably looking at this tree on the top of a mountain and thinking, what's the big deal? Well, I'm always inspired by nature. And I'm like, how does this tree grow with no soil, no nutrients, but yet you go up the side of a mountain and there's just thousands or millions of evergreens, right? How's that possible? So I started digging into that, and many of you probably are familiar with photosynthesis. And that kind of got me thinking about what's possible with this. So a few years later, I was visiting with some scientists around National Astronaut Day. There's always a National Day thing in my stories. And we were having dinner, and I brought up this possibility of artificial photosynthesis. What does that look like? Well, unbeknownst to me, the scientists at this dinner decided to do something about this. So they went ahead and created this instance of artificial photosynthesis in the lab. And then after this was done, they reached out to me and said, hey, this theory you have actually works. And we're gonna, because this is your idea, we're gonna gift it back to you if you're interested in this. So that's kind of the premise behind this. And I kind of felt obligated at that time probably to do something with this. And you know, $500,000 later and still nothing, I guess that's where I'm at. But this is a challenge, right? And I will tell you right away, I'm not a big believer in man-made climate change. I do believe the climate changes. So I want to put that out right away. But it gets you thinking, right? What's the deal with this? And this is the current, you know, what we live in. So does CO2 have to be bad? I mean, CO2 is something that if we didn't have CO2, we wouldn't be here, quite frankly. CO2 feeds our plants. Our plants feed us, right? And one would think that the more CO2 there is on the planet, the more plants thrive. And that actually is true to a certain point. There's a point where that doesn't happen anymore too. So I just started thinking about, you know, if we're emitting CO2 into the air and we have this ability to break it apart, why couldn't we do that? And there's all these crazy metrics around CO2. You know, you get paid to put CO2 into the ground. Am I the only one that thinks that that's a weird thing? I mean, we're spending billions of dollars on pipelines to sequester it, and the requirement is for 12 years, and then you get a carbon credit for that. So if it bubbles to the top after 12 years, then I guess you get the money for that. I don't understand any of this. I don't mean to sound confused about this, but I'm always confused by this. So I look at CO2 and I think, you know, there's got to be something better to do with this. You know, New York, if you have a skyscraper, you get fined for CO2 emissions. A 55-story building gets fined $1.3 million a year for CO2 emissions. And this isn't the only city that's looking at this, by the way. So what is Carbon Convert? So we have developed a nanofilm, a thin film, that when activated by sunlight and you push CO2 across it, it actually breaks apart the CO2 into carbon monoxide and oxygen. So there's no external power involved with this. The actual power of the sun is what does this. So, and then what can you do? Well, oxygen, of course, can be used for many things. Carbon monoxide, a little dangerous to us, of course. But there are things that you can do with that. Like you can combine carbon monoxide with hydrogen. Some of you who are scientists now will know this. And you can make fuels, synthetic fuels like propane and methane, potentially jet fuel. So that's what this is. It's this ability to break this apart and actually make something from it as opposed to just dumping it in the ground. So this is my inspiration behind this. Carbon monoxide, by the way, and you're going to start seeing more and more of this in its purest form, actually preserves food for a very long period of time. So strawberries are a great example. So if you pick strawberries in California, you have a limited amount of time to get them to North Dakota so we can eat them before they start to rot, right, before they go bad. And you have to refrigerate them along the way. If you put carbon monoxide in the package, you can actually extend that by months without refrigeration. Isn't that amazing? And think about that across the entire food spectrum. Imagine not having to ship things refrigerated anymore, many things, like our fresh fruits and stuff. So the big market, actually, emerging market for carbon monoxide. So the other thing with this, and this is why NASA's interested, is that the atmosphere on Mars is 95% carbon monoxide. So this ability to break apart 95% of that atmosphere and, of course, make oxygen from it, we need oxygen, right? We need that to breathe. So if we're going to colonize Mars in the future or whatever, we need to have that. We don't have to bring it with us anymore. And then, of course, we're making carbon monoxide from this as well, which when combined with hydrogen, water is where we'll get the hydrogen from, you can make fuel. So if you didn't have to take all the fuel with you to come back from Mars, Johnny and Evan know this wonderfully. I mean, imagine the weight load that has been lifted from our spacecraft because we don't have to take the fuel with us to come back to Earth. So this is a big reason why NASA is involved in what we're working on as well. So where are we at right now? 2024, we started working on the prototype. This year we've had prototype refinement. We're just under contract with UND. They are actually building our next evolution of the prototype right now. And then after they're done with that, by the end of this month, they'll begin the input-output testing. We have to understand how much sunlight it takes across our nanofilm to break apart a ton of CO2. It's weird that we think about CO2 in tons, right? You don't think the air weighs anything, but that's basically what it is. You'd be stunned at how many tons of CO2 are emitted from a coal-powered plant, for example, 100,000 tons a day sometimes. It's incredible. And then you think about the amount of electricity that we're going to be starting to use with data centers. I mean, we have 3 gigabit data centers going up in the state of North Dakota. Did you know that the entire state doesn't use that electricity every day, but yet we have data centers that will consume 3 times that? So this is going to become a bigger problem as we move along here. And next year, we'll be building a large-scale prototype, and then we'll move into doing 12 the following year, and then the goal by 2028 is to have 52 units deployed. So how it works, I guess I kind of talked about this a little bit already. This kind of gives you an idea where we are actually going to tap into stacks where CO2 is emitted. And you might be thinking about coal, but there's plenty. I mean, ethanol, for example. We have a lot of ethanol plants. That's probably going to be our first thing because the slipstream in ethanol plants is almost 100% CO2. So we don't have to do any type of filtering or whatever. We can just grab that and take it. When we're going out of a stack like a cement manufacturers, by the way, emit just so much CO2. And then coal and whatever, we'll have to have filtering technologies built into that. But it's 100% modular. We're actually going to be converting storage containers, the big things that you see coming off boats or whatever. We're going to actually convert those into basically CO2 conversion machines. So we'll be able to make them here, and then because we know how much CO2 that'll break apart in a day, we can say, all right, you need 5 of these, or you need 8 of these to convert what you need, because they'll be modular. You can plug them in together. So yeah, that's about it, I guess. We're going to There's an economy of this. We have environmental concerns that I think we're addressing. It's creating clean technology for North Dakota, and we have the potential to reduce food spoilage because of what we're doing as well. And these are the different areas that we think we have potentials in, who can benefit from it. Cement and steel, food processing. Cargo vessels is another thing. Imagine the ability, the stack. How many of you have been on a cruise, and have you ever looked at the smokestack and you're like, oh my goodness, you probably even gotten into plume sometime. You're like, oh my goodness, how can this all be burning like this? We could actually tap into that, and they could actually make more fuel from the stack, because they have plenty of water to pull to make hydrogen from as well. So, and then commercial buildings like what I was talking about in New York. Our team, some of the team is here. Dave, I think you're here. Steve, are you here? Put your hands up if you're here. Steve just sent me a thing. We've also partnered with BizBlocks, and Dorman, you're here, I think, right? There we go, right there. So those of you who are with Dorman, everybody else is traveling, I guess, today. I should have talked to them before we talked about this today, but we put together an amazing team of people to make this happen as well. And that's our vision ahead. Talked about this a little bit already. We just want to position ourselves as an alternative to these other challenges, or these other ways, I guess you could say, of dealing with CO2 and actually monetize it. Because I think that's the thing that we're dealing with right now. I know when we've gone in for like grants and that type of thing, there's so much money being pushed at sequestering CO2 that they don't even seem to give other technologies a chance. So that's kind of what we're combating right now, is that there are other possibilities here. And this is a much lower cost opportunity to get involved with than maybe sequestration and getting that $65 or $85 a ton to sequester it into the ground. I mean, oxygen, you get more for that than what you get for oxygen. Carbon monoxide can be up to $29,000 a ton. So it's possible that if we can move this into using carbon monoxide for food as opposed to fuel, that the valuation of this byproduct, so to speak, really goes up. So we're always finding, we can always find solutions to the challenges we face. I think that's the wonderful thing about the country that we live in, is that we have this opportunity to visit and come up with opportunities, even though they might seem insurmountable at the time. You get people together, and that's exactly what happened here with Carbon Convert. But thank you, everybody. Really appreciate the time, and I guess we're ready for some questions.
Okay, Joe's running the mic.
You can have that back.
All right. So, obviously, I mean, this is pretty early research work, which is expensive and doesn't pay back a lot in the meantime.
That's true.
So there's a risk component there.
Yep.
Do you know of is there anyone else chasing this, something similar? They all focused on putting it in the ground?
So there's a few other companies that are looking at what they can do to with CO2. The things I've seen are generally like they're floating in the sky, or they're pulling CO2 from the air, right? Anybody know how much CO2 is actually in the air? It's actually 400 parts per million. But yes, yes. But you're right, Lauren. It's so much. It's so interesting when you talk to people. You would think that, in fact, I remember that we're drowning in it. That's correct. I remember a reporter asking people in Congress this question, and they're like, oh my goodness, it must be 8%, 12%, whatever. They didn't even know themselves. And it's such a small percentage of what's in the atmosphere. So, and the reason I'm bringing that up is these companies that are trying to do something similar are actually thinking about how they scrub the atmosphere. Well, at 400 parts per million, imagine the energy input that would take to make that happen, because they're basically running on electricity. So their carbon footprint is significantly larger than what they're doing to save the planet. So, yeah.
I've seen that where they're basically taking air and trying to pull those 400 parts per million.
Yes.
Which, going to the source where you've got like a pretty pure stream. more sense?
I don't know. I believe in common sense approach, so I'm just I think that's the way to go. Yes.
I have so many questions, Marlo.
Okay.
But some are gonna be technical, so you can just tell me to bug off. Well, one is, okay, so it's gonna be generating a lot of oxygen and a lot of the carbon monoxide. Have you worked out the capturing of that and storage of that until it can get, because they're going to be cranking out a lot of that every day.
Yes.
What
So,
the heck?
Tanks.
Tanks.
So it gets,
You're
gets
welcome.
split apart and right into tanks. Yep. Yep.
Okay, cool. Second question, I'm fascinated, the thin film piece of this thing. There was a lot of questions about the nanotechnology and getting things to orient and the substrate that it goes on.
Yep.
I'm just curious, can you reveal any of that, or is that all like secret stuff and you'd have
Well,
to kill
some
me?
of it I can't talk about.
Okay, get it.
But think of it as a photovoltaic catalyst conversion. That probably helps you a lot. Yeah. Yes, sir?
I had a question about the nanofilm too,
Yeah.
but I sounds a little secretive, but that's fine. But when you talked to the NASA people, why did they decide to give it back to you? How'd you
It's interesting.
negotiate that?
Well, first of all, NASA doesn't generally take things to commercialization. Most people don't realize that. I mean, if they have to for space initiatives, they will move forward with it. But they prefer to, license it out, so to speak. So you'd be stunned, absolutely stunned, at the amount of technology that NASA has come up with over the years that it has licensed out. Like the rumble strips on our roads. That was a NASA invention because they couldn't, when they were landing the space shuttle back in the day, the astronauts couldn't feel the sides of the runway. So they created rumble strips to keep the vehicle on the runway. And as a result, how many lives have been saved because we have rumble strips on our roads now? I'm just using that as one example. You'd be surprised. It's such a long list. So they tend to license it out. NASA is the only institute that we have in government that actually has a return on investment, a positive return on investment of about 7x. So I'm always like, why don't we just put all of our budget into NASA, get the return back on it, and then we solve all of our economic problems in this country, right? So just a thought. Yes.
Okay, so my question is a little bit about the funding. How are you financing, and are you looking for investors?
So right now it's been me. But yes, I mean, we could probably do some type of series right now to fund this, but I would prefer to test and find out like what the valuation of what we are doing. And first of all, I needed to find out if it actually worked on a larger scale, and that's what we're working on right now. Probably towards the end of December, we'll start putting a plan together as to for investment. So yes, and thank you for that. We're very interested in talking to you later. So yes.
Well, but as you point out, I think the more you've proven the technology, the significantly higher value.
Yes, yeah. And and I know some of you know me, I don't like to take people for a ride. I want to make sure that what we're going to be doing is actually something that's going to work and that there's value to you as an investor coming into this later on. So I personally believe that's the case, but I want to make sure that I have science behind that first. So I hope that helps.
This is just like, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. The coolest thing. I'm so proud of our energy state, and this is just another layer to a clean energy in our state. So thank you, but I'm really curious about your scientist friends came back and said this is your idea. We've shown that there are things here. How did you get from there to UND, contracting with UND? Like, what was that process? Because there had to be more in it for you to realize to go forward.
Yeah, so it's a process. Most of the time when you're dealing with government, this would have probably taken 3 years to navigate the the licensing agreements and stuff that we have to go through with NASA. But it was just weird, the timing of ChatGPT and the licensing agreement that I was starting to get back from NASA. And I remember visiting with one of the people, Kelly is her name, and she's like, "How are you getting this stuff back to me so quickly?" And I didn't want to give away my secret at the time because ChatGPT was relatively new, and she was just stunned. So we basically got through that first part that would normally take 3 years in about 6 months. And then we started, and it was more of a waiting game on NASA than anything else because we were able to navigate that. And then it's been kind of a hurry up and wait scenario. So if, like last year, I created a crude model and then tested it, and it worked the first time. And then Dorman and Arnie and Sean come over, and it didn't work that day. And I remember Dorman, I felt like you were really disappointed that day. And I was too. I'm like, it worked so easy the first time. I'm like, why is it not working now? But then after that, we made some refinements, and we had 25 successful tests. And all we were testing for was if there was carbon monoxide in the unit. That's all we needed to know, if we were making carbon monoxide. Then we knew that it was working, right? And then now we started looking for a partner to take it to the next level. And we really wanted to have somebody that was in the state. There's other fast prototype companies that are out there as well. But when you say fast, sometimes it means 18 months or 2 years or whatever. I'm old like Evan, and I just feel like I don't have. Yeah, I mean, we're both about the same age up here. 37 now, I think it is, something like that. Yeah. Oh, okay. But yeah, I feel sometimes that I need to accelerate things a little bit because I'm not going to work forever. So I guess I've just been on this path. I'll hurry up and get things done, and then we're waiting for other entities. We finally settled on UND. We went up there. They did a thing with rare earth minerals and coal ash that you're probably starting to hear about in the news a little bit. So fortunate for us, they bought a lot of equipment that they need to test our stuff. So there isn't a big investment on the university's part to buy a bunch of stuff because they already have it because they were already doing this. So it seemed like a very natural fit for us. They have the space, and the university itself is looking to do more projects every year, as opposed to they have a great partnership with the EERC, but this is something that we're doing strictly with the University of North Dakota. So, yep.
You mentioned that they're under contract, so I assume that means that there's no intellectual property weirdness with the university.
That is my understanding as well, but that can be a challenge with the university system sometimes, yeah. But they're under contract with us, yes. Yes, Norman.
So, Marlo, I was just upset we couldn't pop the champagne. That brings up a great point because, entrepreneurship like this isn't a straight line from idea to success. Any war stories you care to share that would be interesting, that you can share, that would be interesting to hear about?
Well, I found out yesterday I had to pay a grant back. I don't know if that's a horror. I guess we didn't quite qualify in the qualifications they had, so yeah, I mean that's a significant horror story, I guess. There's a time in my life I'd have really been concerned about that. I guess now I just have confidence in myself that I'll be able to come up with the money and pay it back, I guess. But I mean, you're right. So it's never a straight line, Dorman. I mean, as you know, I mean it's extremely fluid. And all I have to do is look at this deck to be inspired again. Yeah. I mean, that's my vision, is to make sure that this technology gets out to the world, because I think it's a significant improvement over what we're doing right now. So that's what motivates me to keep moving forward. Yeah.
Okay, I got a question for you on,
Yes.
I don't know what kind of projected volume you're talking about accomplishing with the large-scale implementation of this technology. How would it compare, say, to an acre of trees? I mean, obviously we got the natural stuff doing what you're trying to artificially accomplish. How does your technique, does it put out for a given volume quite a bit more than a natural process?
I would normally be able to answer this question. I forget the volume of carbon dioxide that a tree will sequester in a year. But the best way, in my opinion, to sequester CO2 is with trees. And I do not understand, this is another thing. We're spending hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars on trying to figure out what to do with CO2. Just give me 100 trees. I'll plant that in my yard or wherever, right? And give everybody else in the country a bunch of trees. And again, that would take care of this problem. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. So that's the challenge we have. But yeah, everybody could just do their part and plant a bunch of trees, and this conversation is done. So yeah. Until it burns. Yeah. Yeah. And this kind of goes back to my man-made climate change scenario. And we got to deal with this again this summer. You know, when you have smoke coming from a forest fire 3,000 miles away, and I can't see across the street in Mandan, North Dakota because of the smoke coming that far, I mean, that forest fire emits way more CO2 than we could ever produce ever, you know. So that's why I feel the way I do about the CO2 thing. But again, it's opportunity. It's just a way to look at things a little differently. So.
And North Dakota could use a few more trees. I'm
I am
just saying.
all for that.
Just saying.
I'm
So, okay. So like what you'd said, I believe, towards the beginning of your presentation was that you really haven't talked a lot about this. You haven't really made it that public. And I believe, because there are a lot of conversations and I think concerns, and again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not going there, but I know there are concerns about pumping this stuff underground by some people, right? Is there a reason why you haven't made this more public, that this is an opportunity? I know you're doing your proof, but just to look for those different solutions in North Dakota, because I believe that there would be a lot of support for you, just for different alternatives.
So Dave and I were in a grant submission scenario a year and a half ago or whatever. And before I even was able to talk about our project, they had said that we are not going to be funded by the grant. They actually said that verbally to us before we even were able to present. And it was kind of a gut punch to hear that. And then that same person said this technology is probably at the minimum 10 to 15 years away. So I took that and I'm like, well, maybe they're not ready to hear this yet, and I need to have science behind this first before I go out and really start making it more public. And I feel like we're getting to that point right now. I mean, we have a university that says, yes, this works, and we're just testing it right now. So now I feel is the time to do that. That's kind of the reason about it more than anything else. I'm eliminating the naysayers, if that helps. Yep.
Very similar to kind of when you go out to seek investment. If you've got a little more confidence, you're going to do better.
Absolutely.
That's the same with, just kind of that broad public exposure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hello, Marlo.
Hello.
I would like to say that I reminded him it was Grouch Day because I have a teenage daughter, and we read the calendar and laughed.
If you've noticed, I'm not smiling a whole lot. I'm trying to keep my grouch face on. Yeah.
Celebrate it differently.
Okay, all right. Cheese curds, yes.
Yes. So I had a thought, Marlo, when you had the slide, there's whatever the 4 or 5 year plan going ahead, but just kind of thinking about government right now. So government shut down in its second week, a lot of changes to the EPA, a lot of changes to university funding. What are some of the maybe hurdles that you anticipate, especially from the federal government, and any hurdles maybe you anticipate coming out of the state government?
Because this is not a scenario where we're trying to sequester, we're making product or whatever, I don't think we're going to have a significant hurdle. Probably the biggest thing is how we're storing carbon monoxide. That to me is probably the most significant thing, because even though carbon monoxide is very radical, it almost immediately, there's almost none in the air. And you think about that and you're wondering, why is there almost none in the air? It's because it immediately tries to find oxygen or hydrogen to connect to. Simple as that. And that's why carbon dioxide is prominent in the air because carbon monoxide attaches to oxygen and makes carbon dioxide, right? So the only reason we have carbon monoxide poisoning in our homes is because that depletion of oxygen that's going on, and then and then the carbon monoxide lingers in your lungs and attaches there as well. So I'm not trying to get too scientific here, but so I think carbon monoxide is going to be our biggest thing, is how we handle that. And I would imagine, oxygen's it can kind of explode. So we have to deal. It's a good catalyst for that. So we'll have to deal with that as well. But those are things that are already out there, that already have regulations in place to handle. So I don't see anything new with this. I might be wrong. Most of the time I am, but hopefully there's not. Yes, Brad.
Hey, good morning. Great to see you, Marlo. You are always one of the most interesting individuals every time you present. I love it. So I'm going to play off of her question as we just got done looking at hurdles. As you look at the opportunity 10, 20, 30 years down the road, the legacy that this could produce for you.
Yep.
What are you most excited about? Is it the food preservation? Is it fuel production? What really inspires you at this stage in the game to push forward?
Well, the food preservation thing kind of is a new thing in all of this. So I find that fascinating. I do. And, it's a technology that really hasn't been explored a whole lot yet. So I think we really can change the way that we can have fresh food delivered to us in a way that's probably better for us. So I'm very excited about that. I mean, this body was built on bagels, but I'd rather have it built on strawberries and whatever else, right? So I'm excited about that. I won't say I'm not excited about the Mars thing. Okay. Yeah. And if this is a ticket for me to get to space someday, I'll invite the other Andersons along with on that. But I guess I kind of look at that as well. So I love working on new things, and the fact that we have a NASA involved in this is a big deal to me. So, yeah.
The food preservation thing is cool in that if it can reduce the amount of refrigeration required, then we're actually helping to solve the problem before it's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the other thing too, Brad, is the original intention of this is I was looking at the challenge that coal-powered plants have, right? And is there anybody in the room that feels like we're using less electricity than we were before? So, I mean, there was like eight years here that it leveled off. Anybody know why that is? That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. As we converted to LED lights, our electrical consumption actually leveled off. But that conversion is almost complete. So you're starting to see it go back like this again. And of course, data centers add a lot to that. So I'm really concerned about power generation too. And one of the challenges that coal and natural gas and whatever is going to have is federal regulations on CO2 emissions, right? Well, if we can negate that, then does it matter how many coal-powered plants we have? Right? We can power these things up and go forward because we're gonna create this machine that we can just basically burp out oxygen and carbon monoxide and make other things with it, right? So that's some of the things, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I got this before you circled back to Mars, but I'm still going to say, just picture the Marlo station on Mars.
Oh, nice.
The fuel
That'd be cool,
generation.
yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I'll go along with that.
This is more of a, do you ever work with our youth? Because I just love how your mind works and the process of coming up with great innovation, different ideas, and not being afraid to move them forward. And I would love to have that encouragement in our youth because I think that, as a former educator, I'm saying this, but sometimes we can stifle that great imagination and those questions just because we have so much achievement, like bars in front of them. And I was just wondering, have you ever thought about that kind of, Marlo Anderson?
I speak to many classrooms every year. Yeah, but I'm always open to do more. Absolutely.
So little technical geeky
Yes.
and stuff here, so I apologize in advance. But to me, it's something like this, it's all about efficiency, right? So you've got a certain amount of input, solar input, that, and your thin film, your sandwich of goodies has a certain efficiency. You know, what percentage of that sunlight is actually doing the business.
Yep.
How much energy does it take to break these molecules apart? I mean, these are all things that I think can be put in the equation. Versus photovoltaic, turning that into electricity and using that electricity to do this. And I assume a lot of that's been done by the technical team.
Yep.
Maybe we should just talk about that.
So we'll it might be better because we'll bore everybody else here, right? But we are. I mean, during the day when we have sunlight, we will be using amplifiers to focus that sunlight down. Very similar to very similar to what was going on outside of Las Vegas, as opposed to a solar field. They were actually reflecting the sun up to a ball and then driving that down. We'll be doing something very similar to that here, but I wouldn't be surprised. And I'm sure we're working, or I shouldn't say, we're working towards this, where we'll actually have solar panels on our units as well, so we can collect sunlight during the day, so we can actually emulate sunlight into the evening and night as well to extend the hours. But we really want to make this so it's truly, that it just stands on its own. You know, so if we can have 24-hour operation by building a solar field off to the side, we'll probably work towards that, yep.
Very cool to have a standalone shipping container that just has these solar collection devices.
Yeah.
You've got this gas coming in and these gases
Yep.
coming out without a cord.
Yes, and since I've sent it to UND, or since we sent it to UND, I guess it's not just me. I do have a team. Thanks, you guys, by the way. I don't mean to disclude you. I was in Vegas here not too long ago. I'm there all the time, I guess. But this, yeah, it's a terrible issue. That's why I have no money for anything else, right? Yeah. The sphere influenced me a little bit, and I started playing with instead of a flat film, what happens if we make it a sphere that rotates? And in my AI modeling, we've 7x the efficiency just by spinning. And because what happens when it starts to spin a little bit, it actually holds the gas closer to the film longer as it spins around. So we'll be working on that efficiency next. And my AI modeling, it's wonderful. I haven't proved it out yet, but I think it's possible.
It allows you to concentrate more sunlight on a spot.
That's correct.
Because the spot's constantly moving.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting, right? Yeah.
Hey, Marlo, growing up in Des Lacs, did you have people that were influential for you to be an inventor, an entrepreneurial person, or was there any specific event that got you to be like this?
Maybe not in. I mean, I had a little bit of a brain injury playing soccer. I had 165 stitches. I cut my ear off and all that good stuff, I think maybe that had something to do with it. I'm not really sure. You're going to laugh. I was, as crazy as this is, I was inspired by Lee Iacocca going through high school. He ran, people claim that he kind of saved Chrysler back in the day. I don't know why he pops up, I guess. Howard Bunnell would be another one. This is early. He was a motivational speaker back in the day. So, yeah, but I can't say. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to point somebody out in Des Lacs, but I just can't really. Mr. Zietz, maybe, he was my track coach. Yes, again, built on bagels, but I used to run a lot. So, all right.
It just seems to be built in too. As long as I know you've always had more ideas than time.
Yeah, it's a curiosity thing, I think, more than anything else. And then
Tell
I
that
just
to
follow
Alice.
up on that. What's that?
Tell that to Alice.
I will do that, yeah. She
More
hates
ideas
it.
than he has time.
She hates it.
As a patient, like, what else we got?
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, there we go. Well, that'd be fine. Yeah.
I know. Okay. What's next?
For me?
Yeah. What's next? So,
You really want to know?
yeah, I really do want to know.
Oh, my goodness. Dorman, I don't think you've even heard this yet. Dave has. So in Carbon Convert, we've been playing around with the idea. Again, it goes back to electricity and data centers. And we've actually, one of my team members decided to do something about this and test it a few weeks ago. Man-made glaciers. Everybody's like, what? So think about this. 50% of the electricity used in data centers is for cooling the data center. Now in North Dakota, we have an advantage because in the wintertime, they can just open the doors and cool, right? But it's still 50%. If it's in Texas, it's 70 to 80% of the electricity used is for cooling, right? Imagine if we built a man-made glacier that we could run pipes through underneath and cool the air and then serve air to that facility at 33 degrees all the time. So a gigawatt data center at 9 cents a kilowatt hour will spend $250 million a year on electricity to cool it, all right? We have 3 of them coming to North Dakota right now. They use more electricity, I probably said this earlier, than the entire state of North Dakota, right? So if I can cut that in half or down to nothing by spending $500,000 a year to make an ice cube, doesn't that, and then $10 million of infrastructure to build it, doesn't that seem interesting? So that's next.
Space-based, radiated heat.
Oh, I like that too. Okay, yeah. Can we take that glacier with? Yeah, okay. All right, everybody got quiet now. There's this crazy guy talking about making glaciers in our cold state. What? It's cold here already. That's what we need is more cold.
But I think that is one of the reasons we're seeing so much interest in North Dakota for these data centers because it does get a little chilly.
Yes, it helps.
Temperatures are lower.
Yes.
Yeah, we still have reasonable infrastructure as opposed to going up to a mountaintop or something like that.
Exactly.
So, but that's a tremendous amount. I don't think most people even appreciate how much energy we're talking about with these things. I mean,
It's a tremendous amount. Yes.
Things that you traditionally would think would be huge users.
I agree.
Crazy. All right, well,
I really got everybody quiet now. I've had the same reaction when I've said it to other people. Man-made glaciers are like,
I've got some off-point questions.
That's
but
crazy.
we'll spare these people.
all right,
All right, well, actually, I just got a note from the mother. It is, in fact,
It is that time.
For the last question. So, Joe, would you do that for us?
How do we make Marlo more successful? Well, just so you know, in case anybody's thinking this, I'm already in the first position on the wait list to be adopted. When did I first say that to you? About 2 years ago?
a while ago.
2 or
yeah.
3 years. So I'm on the wait list, so everybody has to be wait in line.
He's already in Anderson, yeah. There's,
And those glaciers won't melt in North Dakota, so we're fine.
okay,
They'll be around.
they'll be around. I agree.
So with all of these projects, how do we make somebody who's already got so much going on, how do we make you even more successful? How do we make you the face of North Dakota?
That's, yeah, whatever.
I tell that to him all the time and he shakes his head at me.
I guess I guess the typical answer is always that, please support us or whatever, but actually just support yourself, believe in what you do. I would say that that's probably the best way you can support all of us. So just be adamant about your passions and pursue them. So, yeah, come to 1,000,000 Cups. I love that. Yeah, yeah, nice, yeah.
We'll keep you full of coffee and bagels.
I appreciate that. Cheese curds today, though.
We don't have.
Who has the best cheese curds in town? I mean, Culver's comes to mind. What's the place where Minerva's used to be? What's the name of that place? What's it called? The Tavern. Yes, the Tavern.
Theirs is pretty
They
good.
have awesome cheese curds there too. Anybody else?
I feel like the truck stop in Manning has got to have them.
Okay, truck stop. Okay, so you got 3 choices today, everybody.
Find a food truck.
Flood, yeah. I like that. We should have who makes the best cheese curd in Bismarck Mandan. Post that a little bit later. Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right, let's give it up for Marlo. See, now they're quiet.
Yeah, I know. They got past the iceberg thing.
right, so coming up, we do have a number of these left before the end of the season for us. We are working on an end of season party get together thing too, so we'll have more information on that soon. But next week we've got Coach Kayla T is here. We've got Chick-fil-A on October 29th, and they're bringing sandwiches, rumor has it. So you might want some breakfast sandwiches, right? So you might want to make room for that in your schedule. And then Bismarck Break Room, if you're not familiar, it's a place on Broadway, I believe, where you go and you break stuff. So on a grumpy day, National Grumpy Day, you know, maybe if you're feeling grumpy,
I'm taking Ben with me.
go break something.
I got him to smile, though. That was good, right? I thought he was practicing Grumpy Day all day today. Yeah, that's good.
You just ruined it.
I just ruined it for him. I'm sorry, man.
So that's what we got coming up. These are the ways to get in touch with us. So we are already starting to put some people on the calendar for next year, which is very exciting. We'd love to have a pipeline that's full. So if you, somebody you know, would like to get up on the stage and tell their story, reach out to us. Find out anybody with a name badge, find us, talk to us. These are the ways to get a hold of us. Facebook works great. So yes, reach out. And that's it. We're done. Thank you, guys.